Daniel Desmond Amofa, better known as Etika. Now, while the Wikipedia will tell you that he's most known for his Nintendo reactions, specifically Smash reactions, I actually found out about him after his suicide. Um, I should have said trigger warning right there. My bad. But trigger warning going forward because of something like that. But I found out about him after his suicide through a video about YouTube. I was like 13, by the way. This is 2019. I am 19 right now. So I was like, what, 13 maybe? Maybe 15? I don't know. But 15 at the oldest. But I watched a video about YouTubers that passed too soon, and he was on that list, and it says something about his love for Nintendo, and I'm like, I like Nintendo. But even then, I never watched him until quarantine, and that's because I had time on my hands. So I was like, sure, I'll watch. I can watch him now. I got all the time in the world right now. I figured out about a lot of things in there, like Nier. Like that was whenever I first got into Nier. And Etika's one of those things. So since then, I regard him in a pretty high standard. Now back then, I regarded him a little less than I did nowadays. Like nowadays, I'm like, nah, he is just the biggest inspiration in my life outside of somebody like maybe Kanye before 2022. By the way, not not still, but like before 2022. I mean, and since his death date, this is being recorded before then, but I'm gonna say today, by the time this is uploaded, which will be on June 19th. I wanted to make this video because it's been 5 years since he passed, so I wanted to give my thoughts on Etika and what he means to me. So I first found out about him through pretty much, it was actually on my school Chromebook, and at the time whenever I did figure out about him, I wasn't on my Chromebook anyway because I actually could just use my phone and whatnot. But by the time that I came back to school, they made a rule that we can't have our phones out. So I was like, shoot. So I was on my school Chromebook, and I would try to watch stuff about him, but I, couldn't because restricted mode. They had that in place. So the first thing I watched about him from my school Chromebook, which is whenever I actually really started watching him, was a JoJo video. It was the episode where they were climbing the pillar, and yeah, it was cool. And then after that, I kind of was getting more into him. I didn't really have a phone anyway, so even if I was allowed to get on my phone, I wouldn't be able to because I didn't have one at this time. I had YouTube TV. And yeah, so I watched him every now and again, but at that point I was actually getting really into him, and I'm glad I got into him like I did. At that time I was like, let's say I had like the top 3 YouTubers, he was like number 3. Nowadays he's like number 1. But it was that JoJo reaction, and then there was a video about a glutton. Those are the 2 videos I started out with. Most people probably started with like maybe Pokemon, maybe some just streams, like some chill streams, or maybe Smash Brothers. Most likely Smash Brothers though. I started out with a glutton and JoJo, so which JoJo became a staple on the Etika World Network. So you know what? I started off pretty good anyway. I mean, even the glutton video, I was like, I don't like the video because it's a glutton, but I still was watching because I'm like, I was sharing the same sentiment as Etika. I was disgusted, bro. But yeah, I've always like looked at him like he's a really entertaining guy. Even whenever you're, and I'm glad that I'm not the one that thought this, but even whenever you're in a bad mood, he just seems to really pull out some positive energy out of you. He just knows how to put a smile on your face. I will say as well though, my favorite like era, like in terms of the years that were Etika, my favorite years were 2017 through 2018, and even a little bit of 2019, like the beginning of it, whenever Etika FRFX was around. At that point, it's like, okay, this was after October, so there was a little bit of a difference in the terms. Actually, I don't know. I don't feel like there was really a difference, but I've seen a lot of people say that even at that time there was a bit of a difference. I don't know. I don't see it, but the internet's the internet. So what do I know? But I really like 2017. Man, that like lisp I just had for a second. But 2017 through before April of 2019 are probably my favorite years of Etika. Before then, I still enjoyed him and still do, but I enjoyed 2017 through the beginning of 2019 the most. And then April 2019 to June, we already know a lot about. That was whenever he was going through his mental breakdown and, stuff like a lot of things he was saying. Like he was saying, I am God, or you are God, and a lot of other things that can be found on Twitter, of all places. I'll put them up on the screen so you can see which ones I mean. But, and then eventually in June 19th, which is today, now 5 years ago, his passing. So it's a lot of stuff happened where it made it like, oh, like I'll still sometimes watch him, but I'm not really watching him out of enjoyment. I'm like, it's more like watching. It's like a car crash you can't look away from. Is how I'll describe it. I was watching it and I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's somebody that you enjoy and you don't want to see fall from the grace that they had, but they just are. Especially whenever it seems like, seems like we know that they could at this time, where they can't help it. And apparently as well, the mental hospital he would be going to had like a lot of terrible reviews. So maybe if there were better mental hospitals that he had been through, maybe things like this wouldn't have happened. Maybe like after October, all that would not have happened. I know this is probably a really shitty video, so I'm just going to end it off with one final thought. While there were negative moments from Etika, like April through June of 2019, I think overall, even in those moments, Etika brought more joy to the world than he did negative emotions. He managed to bring a lot of smiles to people's faces. He entertained extremely well. And he showed love to every human being that he possibly could. And that was even in the times of June. Well, April through June. I was about to say June through April. That would have been time traveling. But April through June, even in those times, he showed kindness to people. Well, those that didn't criticize him. Criticize him, anyway. But the ones that were kind of showing fake love, I guess. Even, like, friends he was... I don't know. I want to kind of believe that that's kind of what was going on. Like, he just didn't feel there was anything wrong with him, and then people around him were telling him, yeah, there is. And he's just like, oh, okay. So I feel like he just felt like people that were giving him fake love and showing memes were, like, just trying to be like, there's nothing wrong when there is. So I want to believe that he was still showing genuine kindness and just didn't realize what was going on with him. But, yeah. So I want to leave that thought that he did much more good than bad in this world. And I'm not going to spread my beliefs on if I do or don't, but as far as we know, we do not know if there's a life after death. There could be nothingness, there could be something. But if there is something after this life, I hope Etika is there, living happily. And, yeah. Oh, man, bitch boy hours, golly. So, I'm gonna stop blubbering like a little bitch and just get on out of here. That's about it. But of course, as always, I hope y'all have a damn good one. Also, by the way, that's how I get my outros from Etika, in case you didn't know. I switched up my intro because I'm like, bro. But I like the message of his outro, so I kind of adopted it. Kind of morphed it a little bit, but overall, it's still the same message. So, yeah. That's about it. But of course, as always, I hope y'all have a damn good one, and take care of yourselves.